Remember, anybody can grab the mic. I do encourage microphone usage, especially in this series that we're doing. And I'm going to, how do you guys feel after last week? Any comments? I mean, I'm pretty loose. There's some things there's a lot of directions we can go. There's nowhere we can't go. It's more about where you want to go. I'm gonna give that choice open because I think interest is a key issue of the highest order. Like really being interested in what interests you particularly. Any questions, comments, or feedback from last week? Anywhere you want to start? Personal observations. It really is going to be that open. It's not like the Mishlei class where it's a learning seminar. I highly encourage group participation here. And there'll be a lot of free flowing consciousness and all of these kind of things. I have a flow chart, but go ahead. Yesterday was pretty intense. Pretty intense. Man, yesterday just kind of... I wanted to bring a little bit of it into today from yesterday, I think. Yesterday, I think we answered up the secrets of the universe. Public location. Okay. So, recap from yesterday. Yesterday we did the word Musar in Hebrew, picking up from last week. We did the English. We talked about Neo in the office with Morpheus, that kind of scene. And for those that saw the movie The Matrix. And the idea is that God is the teacher. He puts you in a situation where you're trapped. And that's where the Torah is revealed to you, when you're trapped. It's like a wisdom. When you're trapped, then that's when you look for the Torah. I mean, this is King David 101. God would trap King David amongst his enemies. King David recognizes the situation, and he just waits for the wink of God. I mean, King David had this down to like a video game status. How not to feel hurt in your soul when it is physical, where you're trapped. That's right. And we're going to touch on this tonight also, what Loretta just said. But this is King David 101. Because when God, you're not perfect with your free will. Therefore, you make mistakes. And God leads you to make those mistakes. That's how he runs the universe. Because there is free will. And when you're out of line, and I don't mean in a disciplined sense, just kind of not in a straight line, then the order of the universe is a straight line. Because when you're out of line, you're stepping on my toes. And it's an exploitation for me to say that I can just stop existing. And you went out of line because you have free will. Now, it's a circle. Ultimately, if you step on my toes, then I was out of position and I was stepping on someone's toes. So at the end of the day, all it is the concealment of God. Nobody actually went against God when you get to the bottom of it. And where you are in your soul is the extent of your experience of being trapped. And everybody's is unique. Gare Shampoo, we're going to send out recordings of that, so hang tight with me. I don't want to... it's a bit off topic for tonight because I want to stay in the Job mindset. There's a lot of things that I can talk about just because I think we opened it up pretty good with my life story last week. And then the point of me giving my life story was just to open up and give you a canvas that we can paint on. So you guys want me to fire a new thread in this story and go into more of the analytical? You want to go into your own? Does anybody else want to take the stage? It's up to you. I by definition, I cannot have a preference here. Whatever you suggest, then we'll go for it. Any takers? Want me to just do my own take here? You want me to continue from the story last week, or do you want me to start a new thread? That's really my biggest question. Well, last week was the story. Then we have to learn how to stop pointing fingers and blaming. And like we said last night, by the way, Gear Shampoo, the point of last night was there is conflict. There just is. And you're going to get over it. And you're going to get through it. And you cannot avoid the conflict. And we ended that when you recognize the words before the actions, you'll start to anticipate potential danger zone. So, can I open up some conflict then, and just paint the pictures of some conflicts, and then we'll try to resolve them? And should I share my life story, or do you want me to keep it in Bob and Bill? All right, why not? Metaphorical. I'm going to present it in metaphorical. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say then, like Chunk from Goonies, like in third grade, I cheated on my Hebrew school play, whatever it was. I'm going to keep it metaphorical, even though I did use my story last week. I had in mind to set up the content for the classes. It wasn't just a session of just like, well, look at me. I was digging a lot of things in there for the future point of reference. So let's just get into character, okay? Let's go ahead and get into character. We got our guy off the mat here with his shoes. I just think where I want to take this. 1 second. All right, do you guys you want me to challenge your minds as we go? Can I ask questions just to gauge where you're at? Can we do that? All right. So I want you to start to look at life in a different lens, okay? And I'm going to paint it in my ego view on purpose, okay? I'm going to give my life from like a 16-year-old angry kid. Not that I was so angry, just, kids are angry. And I want you to rise above me, okay? I want you to be a little bit better than I am. I'm going to give you a nice fastball over the middle of the plate. Right? I'm going to set you up for a nice grand slam. But I want you to hit the ball. I don't want to hit the home run, okay? Maybe 1 or 2. You guys prepare to hit some home runs like batting practice? Teeing off? All right. Okay. So again, I'm going to give it in story form, all right? I'm going to give my life in story form. And I want you to start to look for the pearls, look for the gems in the earth. And by the way, this is not rhetoric I'm doing right now. This is the class. We're already deep into the class. All right? Because everything, and it's going to be a lot of dialogue. I'm going to give the delivery very layman. Conversation, even a little bit boring. Because remember in Mishlei, it's up to you to muscle your brains on me, okay? I'm going to just be like, the guy in the bar singing the blues, telling my life story, okay? And I'm going to feed a lot of nuggets. So try to pick up on them. Like Gear Shampoo, it's like like in a music band, like try to look for the, I forget the language, but, band cooperation. When I do this, you go do that. Anyways, so to pick up the story where we last left our superheroes, let's just say that I as a kid, I always wanted to wrestle. My brother was involved in wrestling. And so I was looking forward to it all my little elementary school years life. And before I ever wrestled, my siblings also went to Jewish summer camp. And so I also looked forward to going to Jewish summer camp. Now it was called Young Judea. And it was a Zionist pluralistic camp in the summers. The big joke is that every summer when you go to Jewish camp, that's where you learn the life lessons. That's where you learn more than your pay grade. So I started going at 9 years old. So you remember in Judaism you get bar mitzvah at 13. This is officially like my training for bar mitzvah. You're on the clock. You got to perform in front of the congregation. But in the back of my mind, I'm just waiting for the school to announce this year we're going to have wrestling. So average kid, nothing big, just religion, Judaism, very traditional, nothing religious. Just learn how to read Hebrew, go to Hebrew school twice a week, and get your bar mitzvah and be done with it, and move on with life. Now, by the time I was in my early teens, wrestling started up. And I really liked, weightlifting and being athletic back then. So it was a big dream of mine. Okay? Now, right about now, you should start to see some cognitive dissonance. And this is where the metaphor comes in, Travis. Okay. You guys seen the metaphor here? Anybody want to challenge on the metaphor? What is the metaphor? Why am I bringing this up at this point? It's pretty benign, nonchalant, nothing. There's nothing too impressive about what I'm saying. Any takers? One or two? Go ahead. Take a microphone, type. Yeah, there you go. But I'm unaware of it, aren't I? I'm only about 11 years old. I really don't know what future even means. Now, you're asking a lot from me. You're asking this 11-year-old kid to make life decisions. And I don't even know it. I just, get to go to summer camp and have, good food in the summer in the middle of Wisconsin, get out of Dayton, Ohio for 3.5 weeks, fly to Chicago, check out O'Hare Airport. In wrestling season, get to wear a goofy little outfit, and all the kids play football and basketball and soccer, but I'm playing wrestling. That's a contradiction to say playing wrestling, but that's what it is. But, there are decisions to make. When my wife passed on, the psychologist, the state mandates, the kids talk to people. And Reuben's a good kid, my son. He's a very good kid. But, every kid has challenges. I mean, they make it – today's society, it's like, oh, man, he likes to do this. Maybe he has this, and this disorder. But Reuben's a cool kid. He doesn't have a disorder. If he does, then it's okay too. But he didn't understand when he was about 5, the social protocol. When you walk into a classroom – you sit down and you're quiet and you don't talk until we talk to you. Is this resonating from last night? Can you start to feel the trapped analogy metaphor? Travis, Lars, Loretta? Jacques, good to see you. Right? But, the funny thing is, the kid's so young, he doesn't know he's trapped. It's just like, hey, this is what we do when we're in elementary school. And now, stop right there, right? I don't even know if we're going to accomplish tonight what we set out to accomplish. I want this to be a flow of consciousness. What's the problem now? Do you see a problem? It's a big problem. It's a huge problem. It just came up. Do you see it? Anybody? 1, 2. We indoctrinated the kid. We put him in a class, and we demand that he somehow know social protocol, and you are to be quiet until called upon. Right? If my son is the example in this situation, is he trapped? 1 or 2. Okay, does he know he's trapped? Very good. Keep these things in mind. I want you to start pondering your own life, okay? This is, come on, open the metaphor. You may even be a bit trapped now. I got the microphone. You're here, right? This is life. It's not, the teacher's not the villain. This is God in motion. Whether you're at the post office, at the supermarket, or whatever it is. right? But you're not aware that you're being trapped. Is Rulon Gardner trapped, the wrestler in the photo? Is he trapped? That's right. Somehow he is. He left the shoes. He's crying, right? He's trapped somewhere in there. This is the fractal nature of existence, right? It doesn't have to have context. Don't put meat on the bones. We're not there yet. Exactly. We don't know what the trap is yet. But we know from experience that we're probably going to be trapped. So Reuben's a naive kid. And he didn't know he was trapped. And he thought, hey, I can just get up and do my thing whenever I want. And they looked at the kids to make sure they were healthy. And after all the Bulagan. And when I went to the psychologist with the kids, I took notes. I thought it was fantastic. I remember anyone that goes to my Mishlei class, when I'm trapped, I see it as an opportunity to stop being a moron man and start taking notes. That's how I operate. So when I went to the psychologist with the kids, I was taking notes. For me it was good wisdom, and it was interesting what she was saying because I was really grilling her. You know how I am. I like to get to the bottom of stuff. She said, she was trying to BS me, just like he's got to listen, and I'm trying to get to the real wisdom of it. And she said, your son doesn't know the meaning of life yet. I'm like, wow, that is an amazing concept. This institution of schooling a 5-year-old demands that this 5-year-old understand life to get by. And if you don't understand life, you're going to be a problem. You may need medicated, rebuked, reprimanded, just kicked out, abused, whatever it is. It's back to Musar. And Reuven wasn't getting the Musar. He doesn't understand the stick in the hand. He thought, he's a very loving kid. You guys have seen the pictures. And he wants to kiss the teacher, and hug. All the kid does is kiss and hug. And it was very hard on the teachers. It's like, he's great, but we can't be kissing and hugging all day. So eventually he grew out of it. But look at that. At 5 years old, they're trapping you and saying you have to make decisions and understand life. And she told me it's just reality. Reality strikes. You either get life or you don't. And just people aren't accustomed to thinking about that in terms of 5 years old. And you're making life decisions at 5 years old. Obviously, the parents have a big job, and that's to really understand their kids and help with those decisions. Exactly. But I'm not there in kindergarten, so I wasn't there to decide for him. This was actually my biggest challenge, Loretta. Because at home, Ruvi is very, very good. He understands the structure of life in the house. But I find that, I think I'm a good parent. I think I am a good parent. But you find out there's a lot of not good parents in the world. So your techniques work, other people don't have the patience or strength, and we all have this though. Right? What's good for you, someone else can't do it, so they have a different problem with your kid. When recognize there's a trap, then what? All right, so not knowing the trap. When recognize there is a trap, then what? What's the kasha? Hold that thought. All right, we're going to get there. So now, Reuven had to understand life at 5. Fast forward to my little episode where happy-go-lucky kid, summer camp, wanted to be a wrestler, some cognitive dissonance. Okay? We're going to, puberty is going to hit in, and, weightlifting, and, 14, 15 is an exciting time. You're in wrestling language, it's the time. It is the time. Now, do you want the answer or do you want the failure? I'll give you guys a choice. We're 14 years old. You want the answers of life or do you want the failures of life? You want the answer? You guys agree with Travis? Okay. It's David Katz. He's a Jewish kid with some Jewish identity, and he wants to be a wrestler. He's a strong kid. You can see the pictures on Facebook. I was pretty built. Now, I want to just freeze right now. I want to isolate this scene. He's 14, 15 years old. Very, very conditioned. The dream is real. And he goes to summer camp and Jewish camp until he's 15. Then it's like trick-or-treating. You don't do it anymore. High school, freshman year. Okay? So, go ahead, can you guys see the picture? Can you see any of this picture? Is it coming clear? Analyze this. All right, we're going to shed some more light. But I want you to think about your own lives. Don't focus on what I'm telling you. This is a bit of a meditation here. Think about where, just isolate a time in your life. I don't know if it's when you're 14, 15, but when you're in a bit of a cognitive dissonance and you can go where you're at a choice, a crossroads, but before you realized it, when you thought you could do, maybe both. You guys with me? Are you holding a place in your life? Maybe even focus on going Ger from either Noah Hyde, Christian, whatever it was. That's really why we're doing the class, is the transition into Ger in the healthiest way possible. You guys with me? Anybody not with me? I mean, the liberty here is open. You can focus on whatever you want to focus on. Just get to a place where you can follow the metaphor. Is anybody not with me? Is there any twos, or is it all ones? Lars, is there anywhere where you've transitioned when you were a kid? Just maybe, anything that was a bit difficult in transition. From junior high to high school, what am I going to do when I grow up? Career choice, hobbies, gear, nothing? Oi. Yeah, new job, girlfriend. I know, you're a solid guy. Learning Torah, a new type of Torah. World of the Ger from, what do you call it? The Path of the Righteous Gentile. Oh, wait a minute, no. Lars, I'm not buying this story you're telling me. I'm not buying this story you're telling me, Lars, because you're in it right now. Lars, I want you to think about the things that we talk about. And I'll type it in private because I don't want to announce it to everybody. Hold on one second. Okay. Yeah, transition. Transition is the key. If I on a one-on-one, I could probably isolate it better, but I got to keep it general for the class. If anybody has a hard time connecting to the personal connection to it, feel free to contact me, and I can get you deeper into it. It's just I'm keeping it general on purpose because it's just the way to do it. But just try to think of transitioning. And the idea, let's see here. Think about Ger into the future world, Lars. Right? There's going to be a world of Ger. There's going to be different choices, different realities. Right? Things are going to change, leaving exile. Right? Even think about when... Actually, you know what? I got it. Lars, I got it. Remember we were talking the other night about waiting for your redemption? Right? Not to force redemption, let it happen. Okay, put yourself... I get where you're going now. Put yourself... I know you don't force redemption, but I want you to focus about when the redemption comes. I don't mean the big redemption, the little redemptions, right? I want you to put your consciousness in the process of going from your exile to your redemption. Okay? Just let it, when you know how when it happens, it just happens? And I know you let it happen, but I want you to focus on the mentality of as it happens. And when you listen to classes in the morning in your car, right? I know my stuff is hard to understand at first because I set it up that way. So you know how there's in every class I give, there's the moment where it starts to flow and you start to get the breakthrough and it comes together? Focus on that experience, right? Even if you want to focus on one of the classes that we've done, right? Maybe one that you've particularly liked, where it was hard to understand at first and not seeing the vision, and then when it opens up, the light comes, right? So focus on that experience. Give me a 1 or 2 if you're with me. Okay, good. Yeah, are you really with me? You got one in mind? Or you just give me a 1 to get me to move on? Are you really with me? All right, good. Okay. So now, the answer is like this. And I'm going to go on a little rabbit trail and give you some background information, okay? This is kind of like, you guys ever watched the movie Stand By Me? You ever watched the movie Stand By Me? It's a great movie, isn't it? Oh, are you serious, Travis? You have to watch Stand By Me. That is oh, man. It's, you guys are really digging into me here. The movie, the guy that, Will Wheaton plays the star, the guy that played Wesley Crusher on Star Trek. Corey Feldman was in it. River Phoenix was in it. I mean, all the guys from the 80s. And there was a rumor that some guy died in the woods. What's the guy that played Kiefer Sutherland was in it? And it was back in the 50s or something, maybe even older, 20s. I forget what it was, what generation. Really old. I think it was the 50s. And these kids, they like hitchhiked or hiked out to find his dead body. And Wesley Crusher, Will Wheaton, became an author when he was older. And he was narrating the story as an adult about the experience, in the kid's eyes. And the kid's brother had just died. I mean, this is right where we're at. You guys, this is mandatory watching. You guys must watch the movie Stand By Me by the next week. It'll give you so much context where I'm coming from. So that, he was giving the adult. I mean, just what we're doing. He was giving you the 411 from an adult perspective on this experience that molded him as a kid. I mean, that's what we're doing. I guess now I understand where this comes from. It was a great movie. It was very profound. So that's the one. Try to watch that movie, guys. Stand By Me. You'll really appreciate it. It's a powerful movie. It's not so powerful, but it'll shed light on where we're coming from. So so you understand what I'm saying, Lars? Lars. Does that movie make sense now? To where I'm coming from? Does that make sense? Can you see where I'm coming from? Okay. So when I watch my website, flowwrestling.org, why am I watching the website? Because I'm 37 years old. I failed at wrestling. It was not meant to be. And I just am a big fan of the sport, retain the interest. And remember, divorce is not real. You're never divorced. I'm trapped in wrestling. Exactly. And you have to admit it. Admit it to yourself. Yes, I am still a wrestler. I still want to be a famous best wrestler of all time. Right? It's a ridiculous ego. But to deny it, like Brian said one time, right? It'll just come out in strange shadows. So you have to confront it. Right? Let it work itself out. Let it be. Explore it. Exactly. And that's fine. Just, allow it to happen. Find the wisdom in it. Because you weren't really trying to be a model, and I wasn't trying to be a wrestler. You wanted the wisdom. Your soul craved the wisdom. And it still craves the wisdom. Otherwise, that's why, it's why it pops up in your head. Right? Now, here's another little quiz. I don't even know if we're going to get these dots to line up yet, okay? We're going to just fire shots. Right now, think, Lars, you especially, Are you aware throughout the days or nights of things cyclically popping up in your head? Just things popping up. Thoughts, desires, missed opportunities, lost friends. Wait on you, Lars. Throughout the day, things pop up. Anything. Any kind of thought pop up. Lars, I know you do. You send me Torah quotes every day. Things pop up. Okay. Of course, sorry, of course, this is like a Freudian slip. Focus on those things. Why are they coming up? That's called your process. And you have to learn to trust the process. Let the process feed you. Okay? It doesn't have to be dark desires. We're not getting into that. Just anything. Right? Things that you notice. Things that you remember. Things that you recall. Okay, there you go. There you go. So focus on it. Why is it popping up? Now, don't answer because I want to live in Israel. Because I'm not going to answer you, I want to be a wrestler. At 37, I don't want to be a wrestler. All right? I have no knees left. Right? I'm not going to get my dream to come true. Not even wrestling old Gershon. But if the fact that it pops up, there's a deeper wisdom trying to get through to your brain. There's always a deeper wisdom. Now, the reason why it's hard to get into it is because it comes up as a silly thing usually. Right? Why am I so into wrestling at 37 years old? And that's really why I started doing the meditations. You guys are going to follow the Accidental Talmudist on Facebook? Me, one or two. We're going to get the answer. Hang with me, Travis. There's a website, there's a page on Facebook called the Accidental Talmudist. And he writes the wisdom from the Talmud every day, only because he took a class in Talmud not thinking it would yield any wisdom. Lo and behold, it yielded wisdom. So I decided to entertain my fantasy of wrestling. I thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be great at wrestling anymore. At least I admit to myself I do love the sport. And I like it better than the commercialism of professional sports. So I went with it. I started watching the interviews, getting into it. And I started to realize one of the biggest breakthroughs I had. Here's the answer for Travis. The kids that were all great, in perfect unison, by the time they were a freshman, now that's where my story's picking up, right? I'm 14, 15 years old, and I want to be great at whatever I'm doing, or I want the experience. I want whatever it is, whatever. I mean, it wasn't even about being great. It just, my mind, it was too immature to even know what great was. You want the wisdom, but you don't know how to say it at 15. It just comes out in weird ways. I want a medal, whatever it is. But looking back, you want the wisdom. And I can say at 37, there's a great wisdom learning in this meditation. Otherwise, I wouldn't be attracted to it for all these years. And it's going to be silly. Whatever the things are, may or may not be silly, but don't be afraid if it is a silly thing. And obviously, try to keep it clean and kosher, right? Try to focus on the things that come up in your mind that are harmless. The things that are, kind of benign and easy to get into. Just a safe place. Because if you're going to be trapped, like Travis is saying, right, allow yourself to be trapped in a good place in your meditation. Don't put yourself in the most difficult Harry Houdini just to see if you can get out. Right? Allow your mind to be in an arena that you can handle. It's comfortable. I think they call that a hobby. I think as an adult you call it, a hobby or a pastime. Allow it to happen and allow it to yield wisdom to you. And we're talking about everyday life here, but just framing it in different packaging so that you can start to look at it with different eyes and not just take things for granted. I like to do this, I like to do that, but understanding why you're gravitating towards it. And if it's something of the transition, understanding why it didn't happen. And again, it's a perfect canvas of perfect free will when you really had no choice to do anything about it. And it'll come more clear. But the pain resurfaces. So what's the tico? Let me just think. Well, hang on a second. Let me give some answers, and then we'll touch base. Okay. So the answer is again. I can't read so fast when I'm talking, so just hang with me for 1 second. Every kid that was great knew by 14 years old that they were going to be great. End of quote. Okay? It was fixed. It was not a fair fight. It was not a fair fight. At 14, I was hoping. I was dreaming. Maybe it could be me. Maybe if there's a God, I could have my moment too. These kids that were great, they were training since they were about 10, 5, 4. By the time I was wrestling, exactly, know thyself. That's why it's a great wisdom. Because wrestling is a fantastic wisdom because you got 14-year-old kids that by the grace of God know thyself and know thy enemy. And I was a sitting duck. I am a dreamy future bar mitzvah or post-bar mitzvah child getting ready for Jewish summer camp. Meanwhile, these kids have been training for their moment at 14 their whole life. Their dad was a coach. Their dad, branded them like a cow branding, electrocuted them. Punishment, abuse. Very poor kids. And their whole life was, this moment of, if they lost one match at 14, it's like it's over. The dream's over. You're talking about very driven kids. It's not healthy. I don't envy them, and I don't want to be them, and I'm glad I wasn't them. We all have our situations where we were that kid in certain things. But looking back, I'm glad I wasn't a good wrestler. But now, look at the mismatch. Look at that kid. Try to empathize here for a second. I want to work on empathy here. Okay? The kid's 14, and he wants to be great. He wants to succeed. He has peer pressure. And focus on your own lives here, right? It was not a fair fight. It was fixed. There was no hope. It was false free will. You were walking into an ambush, and you're going to get trapped every time. Now, that's already the first layer. You with me so far? That's the first layer of the reality that was unknown. Then you can say, who cares? It was in the past. Because that story, it reiterates in your whole life. Everywhere you go, this story keeps happening. There's the guy that was meant to be there. There's the ambush, right? There's the abuse. There's the transition. There's the free will. There's the cognitive dissonance. All these little pieces of the puzzle and ingredients are present wherever you go, whatever you do, and there's going to be that transition. Then there's going to be the failure or the success and the meditation later on in life, looking back. Where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? What was the reality? What was going on? How did this happen to me? Now, some things are pretty benign. How come the lady at the grocery store gave me the wrong change? I thought I had, $20. Now I have 10. What happened? What happened? How did I lose $20? Personal intellectual honesty. To reconnect the situation, reconnect the dots, put your life back together, give it context, find reality. Because somewhere there's going to be hurt and pain. Maybe not a lot. Somewhere. Finger pointing, blame. There's a difference between being a child and having general normal social impositions, and being an adult and dealing with revealed consequences. I mean, yes. That's why the child meditation is a little bit easier, because it's safe. I never was meant to be a wrestler. I wasn't going to be a wrestler. It was not an option. And that's the next answer. Right? You want to know the real reason why I didn't become a wrestler? You guys want to know the real reason? We moved to a new district. My mother was a Jewish mom. She wasn't giving money for the boosters. She didn't like the coach. I didn't like the coach. The coach was going to retire the next year. The school was a football school. It doesn't support wrestling. Right? I had no father to take me around to all the places. The only reason why I thought I could be a good wrestler is because it was simply a cool thing. It was pretty cool. But success doesn't come because it's a cool thing. That's fantasy. That's called being a fan of the sport when you're older. The problem is let's go to life where it matters a little bit more seriously. How about when we get married and our spouse wasn't what we thought they were? We had fantasies there too about how it was going to be successful. How about the new job that you had? And I thought I was going to be the star guy in the job. How about the new best friend we had? How about the new buddy, the new neighbor? Hey, new neighbors. This is great. They like to do barbecues in the summer. I like to do barbecues in the summer. The point is, as Neo found out in the Matrix, getting trapped happens. Lars, try to focus on, have you ever been trapped? Have you ever felt trapped? Like last night? All right. And then was there any, try to connect to the experience when you were trapped. Did the Torah come down like the Nokia phone? Whatever it is. Just someone saying, hey, you got to do this, you got to go left. Whatever it is. So it's an infinite amount of possibilities, and it's subjective. Only you can say. I can't say. Somebody else could have lived my life, and they would have a totally different experience of the wrestling thing. It's meant to be subjective. It is your personal canvas of meditation and growth. Now let's backtrack 1 second. The real reason also why I didn't become a great wrestler. This is very profound, and I want you to really think about this too. Is, Lars, I'm thinking about you. I'm going to point you out in a second here. The Jewish summer camp taught me as a kid. They taught me this at the time I'm like 9. Israel is a refuge. It's a safe haven. Now remember, the country was built after the Holocaust for that reason. And they indoctrinated us that you need to be a leader, Jewish identity, be a strong Jew. If it gets rough, go to Israel, make aliyah, go to a kibbutz, eat the fruit, eat the cheese, milk a cow, go to Haifa, wear a Coca-Cola shirt. In Hebrew it says Coca-Cola. And I'm like, yeah, Judaism is not for me, and I like wrestling, and I like all my non-Jewish friends, and I'm not really interested in being Jewish. But what I didn't understand is that life is going to happen, and you're going to get trapped, and it's going to get tough. And then, by the time it got tough, guess where old Dave Katz went off to? That's right. Israel was there, waiting, and I said, wow, they were right. When life gets tough and Americans' culture and society doesn't work anymore, then I guess I better get to Israel. And there I went, 22, on a plane to Israel, made aliyah, and I'm here ever since. The point is, I was never going to be a wrestler. When all the wrestlers went to summer camp of wrestling camp and how to be a better wrestler in the summer, I went to Jewish summer camp to hang out with Jews and speak Hebrew and get my Jewish education that I never acknowledged even happened. That's right. I paid the cost of being a good Jew, and I had no idea. Never acknowledged it, never considered it, never entered my conscious mind. Camp was just a place where I argued with Jews. I didn't like the Jews there. I had a bad experience, and I really did have a bad experience. I did not like camp. I just went back because, why did I go back? That was another question I asked for a long time. Why did I go back? Now do you see the finger pointing? I don't like them. I didn't like them. They were a waste of time. They sabotaged my wrestling career. Right? Let the thoughts develop, right? Because they're still there in the shadow, right? It's a reality. I am blaming these kids in Wisconsin for sabotaging my high school reputation. Because if I don't blame them, then it just remains what? Like a dark shadow. I have no answer for it. As well as no, at the end of the doesn't just means how can we justify the loss, especially when the losses are recognized by decision. Exactly. Hold on a second. We're going to answer it up. You're telling me where the finger's pointing. I'm going to tell you where the finger's pointing. Ready? But first, understand there's a finger pointing. You have to acknowledge it. Don't. Ignorance is not bliss here. Because then it just becomes a scar tissue, a dark spot. Then it becomes, hey, Dave, I'm gonna be late for learning Torah today. I gotta go somewhere. Oh, where are you going? I'm going to wrestling practice with my friend Bob. Oh, wrestling's no good. Why? Oh, I wrestled and it was no good. It's gonna be a shadow. You're lying to yourself. You're just saying it. You don't even know why wrestling's not good. And I went through that phase. Wrestling, it's fixed. It's no good. So I started, when my mother started visiting a couple of years ago at the annual visit before the Shemitah Aliyah, I started to ask her questions. This is why it's a mitzvah to honor your parents. This is the big reason why it's a mitzvah to honor your parents. Because when they get old, they're a wealth of information. Hey, why did you not give money to the boosters when I was 14? I'm not giving money to that. It was a waste of money. Hey, why didn't you take me around all over Ohio to go in wrestling tournaments? I wasn't doing it in an antagonizing way. We had a fun conversation about it. She was saying, I'm not driving you around. So you weren't even aware, young kid, that there was a concept of driving you around. When you go on the wrestling interviews, what do you hear? Oh, my dad drove me around. My parents drove me around. You never had the opportunity. It was never going to happen. You were watching cartoons with a bowl of ice cream on Saturday morning, and all the other kids were like throwing bricks into wagons and towing trains. There's videos of this stuff. I'm eating ice cream, Oreos and cookies and cream, saying to myself, yeah, I'm going to be great. One day when I grow up, I'm going to be strong and it's going to be good. Do you understand the delusions of grandeur here? But it's, it doesn't have to, I'm dramatizing my shtuyot. The mind dreams, the mind imagines. I mean, I don't know how many people I've spoken to when they learn Torah and Ger, I'm going to be a rabbi one day. Hey, it's great. I bet you can. But are you going to do what it takes? Look, I know how hard it is to get Ger in the language. So you want to make it real? Let's make it real. Do you know what a Ger Toshav is? Do you know the 10 different types, so to speak, of Ger Toshav? Do you know how to explain to the rabbi who says that you don't exist what a Ger Tzedek is? There are going to be those that do know how to say it and understand it, and those that don't. And I'm not saying those that don't aren't true Ger, because I'll tell you what, I am a wrestler. Okay? I am in my heart, and I know that. And I take great pride in saying that. But I understand the context now. I understand the context because it is a part of my life. Now, a lot of people have come through this movement per se. I'm Noahide, I'm Ger, I'm a friend of Israel, right? How many people out there are saying that they're lost Jews? I know in my heart I'm a lost Jew. It's the same argument. Me saying that I am a secret lost wrestler is the same argument as I am a lost Jew. Now, there's a side of truth to it. I am a lost wrestler. But I was never meant to be Rulon Gardner. Right? My mom was not taking me around to the tournaments, okay? I wasn't getting along with the coach on that level. And I'm eating a big bowl of ice cream on Saturday morning. Why was I not at a tournament in Idaho? Why didn't my dad fly me to Idaho in his personal plane like one guy did? Because that was a pilot for United Airlines. And he said he saw that he get free flights. He could take his kid all over the country and wrestle tournaments every week for free. That is life. Why do people succeed? Mazel. They're in position to succeed. If you're not in position to succeed, you're not going to succeed. But that doesn't make you false. It just means you're not the guy leaving the shoes on the mat in the picture. But it doesn't mean that you're false. It doesn't mean you can't learn the same wisdom. It wasn't going to happen. So as I pointed the finger, right, the coach didn't take me under his wing, and the school had bad philosophies. My mom's okay. All right, I'm not going to blame my mom for that. But somebody should have taught me and give me a chance and really fed my free will. But it does mean you have to learn. It's exactly right. Why was my mazel that I got super strong, super fast, ended up in a great school next to a great coach, yet it didn't happen? Why did my coach let me down? Why was it every other year he did take that kid under his wing, and my year it didn't happen? Why do I end up there every year? And this is not a woe is me, because you're a rabbi. Because one day you're going to end up in yeshiva next to the Rosh Yeshiva, and that's how you become a rabbi. My coach didn't see that I was worth taking the cause. My rabbi did. David Katz, you are a Jew in Ohio. And Jews don't wrestle on Saturday mornings. They go to shul, they go to synagogue, and they pray and they keep Shabbos. You were never going to be a wrestler doing tournaments on Saturday morning. Sorry. And you were indoctrinated from your youth, and you were more inclined to be a Jew. You connected to Jewish leadership, and all those friends that you were trying to impress that you were a great wrestler, they were more interested in you because you were a young leader, because young Judea youth groups made young Jewish kids strong leaders. That was your mazel to keep going to camp. And that's why you didn't get along with other kids, because they saw you as a threat because you were a leader. Mazel. Now you can stop pointing the fingers. Now you can stop blaming the coach and the people and the institutions and the coach got me. How many people still tell that story? My coach got me and I didn't have a chance and I got robbed and it was bad officiating and I got this against me and I could have been. Even if you don't vocalize it, you still think it. If you don't think it, it's still there. But the fact is, it wasn't on you. It wasn't on you at all. It was be happy with your lot. It just was. You were a kid who had gefilte fish in the refrigerator. Your friends saw it and they said, hey, what's that? And you said, hey, it's Jewish food. Oh, you're Jewish? Yeah, I'm Jewish. Right then and there, we stopped viewing you as a wrestler, Dave Katz. You were no longer a wrestler in our eyes. You were the Jewish kid. And you didn't even know what a Jewish kid was. You just thought, hey, I'm just like you. And you thought you were just like them. But they didn't think you were just like them. Now, they didn't know what Ger, Jew, and all this stuff was. But it just was something different. And how do I know that? Because I know these guys. I still talk to them. And lo and behold, they connect to the whole Ger thing. So I pushed the meditation that far. I mean, Loretta met one of them. Loretta met one of those guys in Texas. And then it becomes a good story. Why weren't my buddies good wrestlers? Because my buddies are still asking that question. Why did the coach rob us? The fact is, those kids back then, we weren't interested in becoming great wrestlers in the summertime. We were getting gear education. We were going out into the woods, looking for rope swings, jumping off of bridges into rivers. Summertime in Ohio is a fantastic thing. Probably why so few kids are, in fact, good wrestlers. Ohio was a dream experience in the summer. It was painful, and I didn't understand the pain of gear education, because it comes with pain. But those experiences are what drove me to be, where I'm at in my life and career path now. And I wouldn't give anything up in the world for gear education. That's why my grades weren't too good. But another little secret I learned is good wrestlers have great grades. We didn't have good grades. We weren't troublemakers. It was wild Ger times. I was like, the outsider adopted in. So for me, it's just normal. And that's why I was the outsider at camp, which made more cognitive dissonance. But as you get older and you look at the mazel, you can start to see that he had a plan. The fact is, the kid that got cattle prodded needed an out. I had to become a wrestler. That's right. I actually wrote notes about him tonight. He wanted to be the best of all time, Kerry Collat. My opinion was he was the greatest of all time. The problem is he never won a gold medal. They robbed him every year. It's on the website. It's like a miracle. 4 times in a row they robbed this guy of a gold medal. And he's asking himself, how can it be? How can it be? I'm so tempted to call this guy up and say, man, you're a Ger. Clearly, you are a Ger to me. I know the mazel. I know the path. You know why? Because he didn't follow the rules. He didn't know the rules. He didn't play within the rules. He simply wanted to be great. And he paid the price. Now, the guys that were great, recognized by the rules, they went through the system. They understood that they're trapped. And they went out with Agent Smith. Right? Cause no trouble. Play by the rules. The other guy never got recognized. Now, he is pointing fingers. He's pointing blame. And in about 1 hour from now, I'm going to watch part 3 of that series. He is pointing fingers. Why did I get robbed? And I'm watching and I'm saying, I am you. I lived this guy's life. I also wanted to be the greatest of all time. A lot of kids did. But he, like you said, he took the cattle prodding and he went for it. But he's still asking the same question. That path is going to lead to the same question. Because he had the desire that's going to lead to a letdown, to lead to transition, to lead to the pain. The other guy that goes through the rules never felt the pain. He never challenged the system. He fell into a perfect situation. He has a different mission. Right? He was born into success. Some people are born into success. It's just different schools of thought. He became the guy that was successful. Now he has a different mission. Completely different mission. All right. Any questions, thoughts, comments at this point? Go ahead. Okay, so let's go this. I'm in yeshiva now 10 years. Got smicha. I'm a rabbi. And I never told you guys the Light to Nation story. Did I ever tell you guys the Light to Nation story? How I got involved with Ger? You guys want to hear that real quick? The edited version? 1 or 2 if you guys want to hear that. So I think I gave it the Nativ talk. I'm not sure. But the bottom line is that I'm in yeshiva, and I mean, you guys see, it's funny that it's really funny to me that people are talking about the Rambam with Ger, right? Because they're really misquoting it. My forte in yeshiva was picking apart a Rambam. That's why I find it amusing that people say I don't understand the Rambam. I mean, it's like telling Donald Trump he doesn't understand economics. Okay, he might not be a great guy, but he does understand economics. Anyways, so I mean, it got to the point where I was making like micro calculations with the Rambam, just picking it apart. The words in Hebrew to describe it, I don't need to mention now. It's just kind of off topic, but it's called pilpul. I mean, it's really digging out. And I wanted to write a book. I wanted to write my novelli, my chedushim, and I told the Rosh Yeshiva I want to do this, and everyone knew what my mazel was in yeshiva and everything. It's funny because you go in the Ger world, it's like who's Rabbi Katz, and is he even Jewish? Is he even a human being? We're not sure. He's even this and that. I'm speaking facetiously, but the bottom line is, in yeshiva, I was extremely yeshivish, and my fate was to write a book of rabbinics that no one would ever read. No one ever reads rabbinics. It's no one understands it, and it's kind of people, they say, they go to the class and they pretend to understand. They ask the question. I mean, it's a joke in the yeshivish. It's like, I'll give you an impression for you. You guys want to hear an impression? Want to hear my Jewish rabbi impression? What it's like? Maybe one or two. You want to hear some impression? All right, so here it goes. So the rabbi, he gives a drasha in the shul. If we take the Rashi and the Rambam Tana is like the Rush. If the Rush holds like Rashi, could it be the Yisur Deraisa? If we find Chetzi Nezek Knas and Shus Rabbim, would Rashi hold like the Rambam? I saw Tshuva in Rav Moshe. He says it's Yisur Deraisa, but not like the Baal HaTorah. Then the guy in the audience says, he raises his hand. And the rabbi says, yeah, Moshe, go ahead. Got a question. Go ahead. Ask for Shiloh. And he says, it does the Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Does the Rav understand that the Rambam, we don't paskin like the Rambam? And the Chayra, here we're trying to paskin like the Rambam. To Gewaldig Shiloh Rav Moshe. B'ezras Hashem, next Moisei Shabbos, I'll have the answer for you. It's not exactly Nogeya to where we are right now in the flow of consciousness in the sugya, but it was a stark kasha. Okay, it was a good kasha, good kasha. I think the Baba Sali asked the same kasha, if I remember correctly. Let's go. If we're going to be in the Rosh Hashanah, and then we ask the Shaila, could it be? All right. This is Judaism Yeshivish 101. Okay? It's the Rav giving the whole and everyone's like, Rav, right? Rashi, yeah, I was in Yeshiva when I was 10. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Rashi, right, Rashi. And then in the end, it's like, who understood what the guy was talking about? It was in a thick Ashkenazi Yeshivish right? And so that guy, the Rav, he did learn the class, right? He learned out, he studied the material, he wrote the notes, and he was this, and he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about giving a drasha about the Rambam and the Rishus Rabbim and Hilchos Shabbos, and why it's on the Yisur D'Oraisa if we kick a piece of glass to the side of the road on Shabbos, but if there's an Eruv, but if there's not a kosher Eruv, but B'diavad, it could be kosher, would the Rambam still hold us in Yisur D'Rabbanan? Any takers on this? What do you guys say? Is it an Yisur D'Rabbanan? What do you think? Brian, you know the answer to this. Is it an Yisur D'Rabbanan, you think? Could it be? So then the guy who has like, yeah, I think I heard a shir once that it was an Yisur D'Rabbanan, Rabbi. And then he goes, no, it's not an Yisur D'Rabbanan. We learned last week it's an Yisur D'Oraisa. Were you not paying attention? Anyways, that was me in Yeshiva. Boker Tov. Nice to meet you guys. Right? So then you do enough of that, and you realize that no one knows what you're talking about. Nobody knows what you're talking about. And, there's a picture I put up on Facebook of my first Torah Hashem class for the nations I ever did. I put in big capital letters, speak English. Slow, fun, clear English. I'm going to show you guys a picture, okay? Because if I show up doing the Yisur D'Oraisa, Chesed Nezek L'Ashur Rabbim, no one's going to know what I'm talking about. Nobody. Right? I never met maybe 5 Jews in yeshiva that knew what I was talking about. Anyways, when I realized that no one knew what I was talking about, I decided to make a change. And I knew I wanted to leave yeshiva because apparently I can learn Torah okay, with some pretty interesting insights, but the yeshiva world does not want to hear insights. They want to hear it, but they don't want to understand what it is. Just like, yeah. So I had a long talk with a friend of mine, and I told him that I'm going to leave the yeshiva, and I want to be a light to nations. I don't even know where I got that from. It's like, hey, all of a sudden, like, hey, I want to be a light to nations. And I did. I went out and got a car. and I started teaching English in a Muslim village. A week later, right when the Arab Spring started, and that led to ultimately, to this transition. Here's my transition. Now here's Travis's question. Okay, yeah, it's pretty fun. You left yeshiva, and it's a light to the nations, and you left, and now you're driving a foot of these. You're teaching with an imam, in the little school. But then you call Noahide Nations. For those of you who don't know, I was actually a Ger teacher on Noahide Nations with Ray Pedersen. How do you like that for information? The Ger message started from Noahide Nations, ironically as it may be. And I started teaching the 34 classes of Shem. You can see it on YouTube, those 34 classes. And, I've had an interest in Shem for like 15 years. I got interested in Shem from a Ger. One of the first Gerim I ever met, someone online in a spiritual chat room. It was an older woman from Texas, and I was a young, Bol Tshuva. I didn't know what I was doing. And she said, have you ever heard of Melchizedek? And I said, who's that? She said, Shem, the son of Noah. I'm like, what? Who? And lo and behold, she was right. Rashi says in the Art Scroll Chumash, there it is. This Melchizedek guy was Shem. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I decided to teach the 34 classes. Now, Travis, can you anticipate where we're going? You just left yeshiva. You're a so-called light to nations. You are teaching in a Muslim village. People think you're a bit mashug. And you're teaching Shem to these non-Jews. Well, you call them Noahides. And you're teaching about the Torah of Shem. And the obvious question, the obvious kasha comes up. I thought it was the Torah of Moses. Is there really a Torah of Shem, Rabbi Katz? Is that kosher? Is that heretical? And I'm like, okay, maybe this is how the Jews convert to Jesus. And I'm about to find out the hard way. Right? You should never have left yeshiva, David Katz. This is how you're going to worship Jesus. But I think Shem is true. And Rashi spoke about Shem. And Yaakov learned in the tents of Shem. And Abraham learned with Shem. And Isaac learned with Shem. And everyone and their brother learned with Shem. And there's like a billion midrashim about Shem. But we don't hold of Shem. We hold of Abraham was the first Jew. And there's some kind of Christian cult that says Melchizedek was some kind of God thing that proves Jesus was a God thing, and that's where you're going, talking to non-Jews. Hey, can we even teach non-Jews Torah? Is it illegal to even teach non-Jews Torah? David Katz is doing it. Oh, he left yeshiva. What are we going to do? Travis, you with me? What are you going to do? Are you going to turn around and go back to yeshiva because it's getting a little dicey? Are you going to follow your heart and teach the non-Jews? These are nice people. Ross Bearden's a nice guy. I kind of like Ross Bearden. And he wants to know, can we keep Shabbat? I don't know, Ross Bearden. Let me look it up. Because I know that a goy that keeps Shabbos is Chayiv Misa. Says the Yeshiva Sha'ilam. Now, do I tell these people, hi, you're a bunch of nice people, and I'm brand new to the Noahide scene, been here about 5 days, and you want to keep Shabbos? A goy that keeps Shabbos is Chayiv Misa. Sorry, if you do, I am forced to kill you. Do I really want to say that? Is that what I believe? Is that where I came from? Is that the youth experience that I had? Is that what led me here? So, who am I? What am I here for? All I can say is in the present moment, at that time, I'm a Talmudist. I left yeshiva because I was a Talmudist. I'm still a Talmudist. And I happen to love Torah, and I decide I'm going to look up Ross's question. I'm halfway curious. Maybe people are giving a party line. There is no such thing as we've been told. Maybe there's something deeper out there. And lo and behold, it's the 10 Commandments of all places. The ger in your gates keeps the Shabbat. Hey, I thought that was a convert. And you look at it, you're like, a convert? Why would it be a convert? A convert's a Jew. And then you look it up, and it's a ger toshav. There is no ger toshav today. He's a Jubilee guy. And you look a little deep. Come on, one more step. One more step, Davo. And there you have it. The Ger Toshav exists today. If you look a little deep enough, the Rambam never said no. Remember, I'm a Talmudist by heart. And the answer was, yeah, you can keep Shabbos. But it's like Creasus 9a. There's some obscure random Talmud that says Creasus 9a, you can keep Shabbos, like these three opinions. Now let's keep going and talk about Shem, which, by the way, tomorrow night at about 11:30 p.m. Israel time, the Torah of Shem 2.0 will be coming back to the masses from the headquarters of Ger. So stay tuned for that. Bit of exciting news. But as I got into Shem, and it was very hard at first because nobody talks about Shem. Nobody! That's why I'm excited for this new series, because I'm really armed to the teeth on this. And people are saying this is how people become Christians. And I'm saying to myself, look, they're saying they left Christianity. Noahide was endorsed by the Rebbe. Noahide's a known thing. I don't sense anybody converting me. Okay? I know the Torah is true. It's got to be true. Right? I don't think God wants me to be a light to nations and a Kiddush Hashem, and then it's like, sorry, Dave, you shouldn't have done that. Now you're a Christian. I don't buy it. So, I'm going to plow forward, go ahead and do it. And let me tell you, in my transition out of my church, which is the ethnocentric Jewish, there is nothing else but Judaism, I had a real big decision to make. Am I going to go through with it and continue the truth and follow God? Or am I going to whimper out and say, I don't want to leave my backyard, I'm afraid? That's the real transition I'm trying to get you guys at. That's the one that'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Right? The one that says, that's right, you can't go back. You left. You got a job, you moved on. Your wife is actually dead now. That happened. You're not going back. She didn't die for nothing. Because life gets real serious sometimes. That's why I tell people, you can attack all you want, but I've seen people's lives literally disappear in this business. Literally. Too many people have given blood, sweat, and tears to go back. And there's consequences. What is he doing? Why, you saw the eruptions go on Facebook and the blog scene. Nasty things were said to the Ger. Every time, though, they were bringing the Akum, the idolater. Every time. Ger has never suffered even a slight blemish. Not even one. That's when the work got real sweet. And you realized your portion. I didn't want to be a rabbi getting glory and honor for people that didn't understand a word I said. Because that was the only motivation of staying in yeshiva. To be a big rabbi. That's the only reason why. So look at the 180. You wanted to be a big wrestler when you were like 14. You went to yeshiva. Let's just say it changed the world, make a mark, right? Think big. You're still thinking big. That's why the wrestling meditation is important. Because you were always thinking big. But man, when you leave yeshiva to be teaching Ger and Shem, the whole idea of glory and honor and thinking big and success goes right out the window. Because I'm not 14. The message changed. The needs changed. This was not about me anymore. That was at 14. I would have loved to have been in the news. David Katz won the Worlds in Russia. That's why it's an important meditation. What was that? What was going on? Why didn't it work? Because by logic, by simple logic, it should have worked. I was interested. I was motivated. I was physically gifted. Why didn't it work? Because Mazel led you down something different. You were never going to impress the coach. You were never going to get to the tournament. You were never going to undo Judaism from summer camp. You were destined to end up in Israel, like Jacob with a shirt on his back and that's it, learning Torah, just, okay, it's only about Jews and Judaism. I get it. Can't be a wrestler. Then you realize this isn't it either. I'm going back. I'm going back into the world. That's called tshuva. You just show up. I'm a light to nations. I'm here. Let's just see what we can do. I'm trained now not to be a great wrestler. I'm trained in Talmudics. And I know it's an obscure craft that doesn't, have much sway in this world. But if that's what I'm trained to do, Travis, and that's the decision I made at my choice and crossroads, then I'm going to stand by my decision. I show up and I'm saying, look, I might not be the best guy or smartest guy or coolest guy, but I can certainly pick apart a Rambam. Right? I can certainly pick apart a Rambam. So why did I get into Ger? Oh, he's making a movement. No, actually, he's doing the only thing he knows how to do, pick apart a Rambam. That's all I can do. Right? You want to ask me a question about what I think about Noahide? I have no idea. I'm not qualified enough or smart enough to make any statement about Noahides or what they should do with their lives. If you want to ask me, is there a precedent in God's Torah to keep Shabbos for a non-Jew? Hey, I can do that. I couldn't do a lateral drop on the mat on a Saturday morning, but I can certainly look up the Rambam and tell you that a Ger can keep Shabbos. And I'm saying, I'm not even going to call you guys Noahides, non-Jews. Torah calls you Ger. I'm calling you Ger. If it fails, hey, no sweat off my back. Another case of finger pointing, and I'm going to point the finger, and then one day I'll grow up and say, hey, you shouldn't point the finger at those people. They were called Nazarites, and you got it wrong. Okay, what did I know? That's life. You make mistakes, point the finger, grow up, move on, do tshuva, work it out, get rid of the shadow, find the hidden mazel, find the reality, grow up, get a bigger point of view, move on to where you got to get to. I got to find the Nazarites in Antarctica. But it didn't work out that way. People started to say, yeah, I'm getting this Ger thing. And I was saying, hallelujah, God's Torah really is true. What did I know? I'm just trying to pick apart Tosfos and Rambam, man. That's all I ever try to do. Only now at least people can appreciate it instead of the yeshiva world saying, psh, they didn't even know what it was. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying reality. But you know what? The same thing in wrestling. The guy who got wrestling, I'm finding out now on the website, he also has the same problem. He's telling himself, I'm a great wrestler. I was the best ever. Why did nobody appreciate it? It's the same thing. You're the big guy at work, and I do my job. And hey, you know what? If I didn't show up tomorrow, no one would be doing their jobs. We all have this. Just little things in life. We all have them. But eventually you can start to recognize the true mazel path. So the irony is, and I'll close on this note, the irony is, my profession, so to speak, by learning how to accept my lot, my fate, my mazel, the signs of life, the choices, the directions you go, and I might not be done. Maybe I have nothing to do with Ger. Maybe I'm supposed to be singing Kumbaya in Antarctica. I don't know. But if right now, if I'm at where I'm supposed to be, and I at least know where I came from, all I'm qualified to do is read the Rambam and read what it says, clearly. And the only market for that, the only people that really want to know the Rambam is either the Nazarites of Antarctica or these Gerim. Maybe there's more, but I haven't found them. So far, the Gerim seem pretty interested in the Rambam. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I love to do. And I'm very much at peace with my path and the choices I've made. And I understand where I've came from. Now I can use the wisdom from those experiences. Right? You can stop pointing the finger at the coach and start to understand he was a complicated person. He was a human. You can appreciate the pain. You can dig into that wound and let it speak. Right? To the point where you bleed in your body. And it hurt for a long time. Just not understanding and why and where am I going? What's going on? What am I choosing? Why did I choose this? Why did it go this way? And I know a lot of Noahides are upset. We thought we were done. We thought we were here. We thought we were Noahide. Why is he introducing Ger? Why does it got to go Ger? There's no Ger today. My rabbi told me there's no Ger today. This guy over here saying there is Ger today. Transition. Pain. Pointing fingers. Blame. Sound familiar? Is this not religion? And I'm saying, you know what? It is religion. It'll happen. And you can get through it. We can all get through it. There's no promise that there's Ger tomorrow, that I'll be here tomorrow, you'll be here tomorrow. But right now we're here. Right now we're all here congregating, hopefully transitioning well. And we're looking like we want to transition together. We're looking like we want to stick together and keep going. I know I'm in it for the long run. I've never been happier in my life. Now that I don't have to point fingers. The irony is that once you're done pointing fingers, they point them at you. Because they got to figure out their transition story. They got to realize that I'm the wrestling coach who's retiring next year and I left my shoes on the mat. Because I did leave my shoes on the mat. I left that world. Because I had to make a choice. I made my choice. And I stand by my choice. Anyways, does this help things out? You guys, does this help get some clarity on choices and life and mazel and factors and big pictures? And, I'm not trying to just, toot my horn of my life. I'm just saying, I teach, my teaching of Ger and Talmudics and Torah, I'm using life as the template to learn. And, I think I've learned my lessons of the transition. I mean, God's given me enough opportunity to do it, for crying out loud. And so, if I have the mazel of the pain, then I'm going to use it. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to embrace it, and I did, really did. I still do, every day. You got to learn how to embrace the pain. Let the pain hit. Let it touch the bone. Let it bleed. Let yourself suffer. But understand that there comes an end to it. And that's when it starts to speak. And when it speaks, you start to get the revelation. The big picture. King David says that God winks in the ambush. And I'm saying I decided to go back into the wrestling meditation because God can wink whenever he wants. And I'm saying, I want to reclaim all the winks. The wrestling coach can still wink 20-some years later. That's the thing. Your life is timeless. It'll always wink. Nothing was lost. So when it pops up in your mind, you don't know why. Curiosity, that's Loretta's big word. Let yourself be curious. I found Ger because I was curious enough to find it. And it kept coming up. I know people are being driven nuts on Facebook with the memes. Why does this Ger keep coming up? Because Ger keeps coming up. That's why. It keeps coming up. Go learn a page of Talmud. Tell me it doesn't come up. It's every other word is Ger. We're just trained to not look at it or call it convert. Ger is everywhere. It keeps coming up. It's like in Breakfast Club. The quote is, you could ignore me if you tried. Once you acknowledge Ger and you see it, you say, man, he's everywhere. He keeps coming up. That's it. It's a fantastic story. Your life is fantastic. Your life is a Torah. You are living the Torah until God created you, your soul, and the universe. Let your Torah come to life. Live it. Let it open. Identify it in your life. Ger is just the beginning. You're not a Ger. You're a person. You have a soul. You have a purpose. You have a job. You have a function. You have God of Israel over you. You have mazel. You have direction. You have free will. You have pain. You have mistakes. You have rebuke. You have instruction. You have the wisdom of Mishle. Klippa is just the negation of that. It's just saying, nah, that's not for you, it's for somebody else. That's for the kid who knew he was going to be great when he was 14. Well, I was Klippa at 14. I didn't have that choice. But at 37, I decided I'm going to remove the Klippa. I'm going to still be a great wrestler. And like I said, I have a wrestling partner. The guy's 75 years old. It's fantastic. We have the best time. You have no idea. I bought little wrestling shoes and knee pads, watched my website, practiced my moves. It's called a hobby. It's called exercise. You know, the essence of wrestling is it's just exercise. The rules are the matrix. The guy that carried Kolat that wanted to be great, he just loved the exercise. The guy that was actually great, he loved the rules. Yeah, you know what the essence of football is? Passing the ball to your 5 or 10-year-old kid in the backyard. That's the essence of playing football. Anything beyond that is rules and regulations. The beginning of being trapped, Travis. Hey, run straight, turn left, and I'll throw it to you. We'll score a touchdown. You just got trapped. Wow, do you see how good you did? Hey, now go the other way and try it again. Okay, Dad. Hey, we should get more kids and we can do it together. Trapped. Social pressure. Choices. Life just spirals and spirals and spirals. You guys see how the spiral goes? Now I call this level where we're in. You guys feel in this right now? We're in the sugya. You understand here? Anything you want to talk about in life now, you can open up. Anything. I feel like I'm there. Is anybody not there? 1 if you're there, 2 if you're not there. Anybody? Who's with me? Jacques, with me? So the beauty of Ger is there's no answer here. That's what drives people nuts. What did you learn about Rabbi Katzen Wednesday? Nothing. He taught me nothing. No resolution, no answers, nothing got better, nothing. Then what's the point? The point is just the revelation of the tree of life. Right? Letting go of the baggage. Is that not enough? Letting go of the baggage? Learning how to make better choices? Learning why you made the choices you made? That's right. Comfort in the struggle. You're just you. And it's okay to be you. You always were you. And to keep being you. Life is good. Even with the pain, with this perspective, you rise above the pain and bad of it. It's good. Rulon Gardner's crying and he left his shoes on the mat. Life will go on for Rulon Gardner. David Katz got robbed of the wrestling dream. Life will go on for Rabbi David Katz. Let's call it there, folks. At this point, I could go on and on and on and on. But anyways, think about where you want to go. I would like for you guys to start to internalize your own lives and really open up and solve issues and resolve shadows. So please email me if you have suggestions or anything. I mean, I've constructed the meditation that it's an open canvas, right? That's why I said I've chosen safe material that we can discuss. None of this is too personal that I can't discuss it. That's why I do it. It's a great meditation to open up where it's safe and it's just fun. It's all right. It's just fun. It's an easy exercise to get all the answers out of life and prepare you and arm you for when life gets very difficult. But it never gets easier. You just get skilled in picking apart the pain. That's really all that happens. And the pain's not going to stop. But at least you can become confident in your skills to rise above the pain, deal with the pain, right? Like Jacques said, have emunah. It's about emunah. Emunah b'tachon. You know? And it's not a woe is me session. It's not a cry session. It really is just opening up your wound. And just finding the revelation. There is revelation. But like Loretta said, it comes into the body. I didn't really get that till last night. You're not going to be done with the meditation until you get it in your body. You have to actually like bleed. Once you're bleeding, that's where the healing comes. You know what they say, Yerida l'tzorech aliyah. You got to go down for the sake of going up. You know, so I'm not saying be a masochist, okay? But don't block the pain. Pain naturally penetrates, like a shot, right? You don't tell the doctor, you know, hey, stop that, right, when he breaks the skin, right? Let the medicine come in. Torah is called Sam Chaim, the elixir of life. When you learn Torah wrong, it's called Sam Mavet, elixir of death. Right? Life is just God's medicine. It's God's Torah revelation coming at you. And you're going to get trapped. And the idea is that once you get trapped and you miss the social cues and you messed up, you're going to mess up because you have free will. Then you go stand by your decision, follow it through, stand your ground, open up, hear the mazel, hear God speak, hear the divine providence, let people say what they'd say, right? Stand your ground. I mean, don't be just live. I'll try. I literally will close on these words. I'm going to stop the recording after I say these words. Trust the process. You hear that? Trust the process.